Hello, thank you for joining me this morning on our podcast. So please, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you actually do?
Yeah, certainly. Just to do the introductions, my name is Alan Fletcher. I'm the Partnership Director at Investment Fund. We're one of the UK's sort of leading peer-to-peer lenders in the property development sector. I'm here with my colleague, Raj.
Hi, yes, I am Raj Singh. I'm one of the sales directors based in the Northwest.
Brilliant. Thank you. And my name's Satmir. I'm from YABA. I'm one of the project directors. So can you tell me a little bit about your objectives as a company?
Yeah, certainly. I'll sort of give you a little bit of a backstory of the business to start with. I think that will probably fill in the blanks. Essentially, we're a peer-to-peer lender, but we were founded 13 years ago now. And the purpose of the business essentially was to address a gap in the development market. Founders of the business identified at the time, and it was still very much the wake of the 2008 crisis those years. So there was a real need for development finance for a specific niche of the property sector. The thinking behind peer-to-peer, and this isn't potentially unique to Investment Fund, but it's certainly our ethos. Funding for home builders, essentially, and we work very closely within the mortgage sector to actually get those contacts to us so we can actually facilitate that. Now, because we're a peer-to-peer platform, we also have an investment side as well, where we provide an opportunity for high net worth banks and institutions to finance this kind of home building, and we sort of act as the middle people, or the platform, essentially. So it's very similar to the structure of a bank. It just doesn't have the sort of the overheads and the weight. It is almost like a stripped back version of banking. Well, in terms of our objective, over the last few years, certainly it has fallen in line with Homes England, who are one of our strategic partners. And their sort of core objective is to tackle the housing crisis. So ultimately to get more building, more smaller businesses having access to finance, more bricks in the ground, and more family homes essentially built around the country. So by sort of a coincidence almost over the last sort of few years, our objectives have sort of aligned with theirs as and what we're really seeking to do is to sort of grow our client base. Essentially, one of the core objectives of Investment Fund, which admittedly has been a relatively London-centric business over the last sort of 10 years, is to sort of move into the north and take advantage of opportunities here. You know, we sort of see the longer-term vision for the north in terms of home building, and we want to be part of funding those opportunities.
It's amazing, and I think it's very much needed in the north. I think we are all facing a housing crisis at the moment, so that's great. So, what do you think makes Investment Fund different from its competitors then?
So, in terms of my role in the business, it's quite apparent that we do differentiate ourselves based on how we're very much a relationship-based finance provider as opposed to transactional. With my role, the first and foremost is to get to know the clients, understand what their objectives are, how we can support them. And that's through an initial kind of sit down meeting and a fact find to understand what their end objective is, how we can support that, and if we are the right fit for them. So we don't mind saying no if it's not right for the clients. It would always have to be a responsible facility that we provided and something that was sustainable, and that what we achieving their end goal. As opposed to, like Alan said, we're not a high street bank. We are a specialist alternate provider of finance. We have a full team of experts, right from frontline salespeople to the, back office kind of processing team and underwriters. We have many years of experience having a full understanding of how this product works and how to best structure it for the clients. So, you're getting that kind of one-to-one direct expertise and service from us beyond anything else before there's even any kind of funding or deal provided. So hopefully that should give clients that reassurance that we're not a funding partner, we're almost kind of a stakeholder in their business. Support them along the way and counsel their deal and their project to make sure it completes within the timescales and the budget they intend, and the facility is provided correctly and are suitable for their need.
I think it sounds amazing. It sounds like a very bespoke service, on something that a lot of people would need. I think at these sort of turbulent times.
Yeah, it's very much tailored, so it's quite daunting when the development finance is certainly one of the more complex products out there, and some clients are a bit nervous.
In terms of growth, and I think Reg picked up on this as well. The market that we're sort of targeting, on the market that we're involved in, there's almost a market that's been created by accident. It's not really the case that the banks don't want to deal with a certain section of the market because these businesses are too small. It's just the way that they work off an economy of scale, essentially, with the old-fashioned banking model. So they're looking for a bigger margin. They're looking to support businesses that are potentially producing 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 homes at a time. On the flip side of that, you have a market that's maybe dominated completely organically. This has happened, is maybe dominated by 4 or 5 huge home builders that are sort of PLCs. They have access to sort of cheaper funding. They can use their own money. The models that they use are very much based on purchasing the land sort of 2-3 years in advance. They can then effectively build to market. So when a large home builder is building to market, they'll naturally slow down that production process when they feel it's going to be harder to sell the end units. Organically, on the flip side, the smaller developer, they have to sort of build and sell because their whole model is based around the movement of the money from one scheme to the next. So what a smaller developer will do is they will build 6 or 7 homes. They will borrow potentially to complete that project. Once they're sold, profits will then be rolled into the next scheme, and they'll be straight back into the market because that's the only way that they can continue to grow their businesses. The larger providers tend to work and more focused on very, very large schemes across the country. So really what we want to do is to grow the number of home builders, the number of smaller home builders in the country. And this is where it aligns with our ideology with Homes England, because what we noticed when we saw the numbers, when we were really looking at this market, is there's maybe only a couple of thousand smaller property developers in the UK. And then maybe if you go back, say, 20 or 30 years, that number was in the tens of thousands. So the reason ultimately why we're having a housing crisis at the moment is we just don't have enough homes. I think that's pretty widely agreed upon across all parties. So what we feel is that the core to unlocking this is to try and counterbalance some of the challenges that those businesses face, and primarily the biggest one is the finance. In that market, that ultimately it benefits us, it benefits Homes England, and that's sort of the mission, the cause of.
I think just to add to that as well, Sabby, is that as part of our strategy, it's not to just go out and win as much business as possible. It's quite a tough market that we operate in within, and let's face it. But ultimately, for us, it's making sure we find the right clients within the right space. So it has to be kind of in line with kind of our strategy and objective, but also product for the clients. So it's not a case of being selective. It's a case of being right for the client, and make sure what we can offer them is in line with their project.
It sounds very ethical as well, which resonates with that I've used at YABA as well. But
like I said, we don't mind saying no. It's a case of aggressive pricing to try and win the business. So if we can't assist, we will obviously still keep in touch, and we may be able to assist on the next project if it's right for them. But like you rightfully said, in line with YABA and how they operate.
100%. And what are your views on the development sector as a whole? What do you think?
I think for me, as like I said, a frontline salesperson who deals with clients directly, there is a lot of nervousness in general due to the volatility, with kind of the economy, and anything from as small as the cost of materials being changing kind of on a daily basis, right to making sure they're getting the compliance right, and the kind of red tape and process involved in getting that all up to scratch. So all a very kind of time consuming and complex process really for the client to kind of find through. on top of having to kind of, get that access to finance in place as well. And just getting the right team on board, it's making sure they've got the right professions and the right, knowledgeable experience around them. The project is successfully completed. Beyond any kind of money or finance, it's making sure they stay aligned to their budget.
100%. And I think just listening to yourselves this morning, it's really apparent that the service is very bespoke and very tailored to that individual. Like you said, you work with startups, right? Through to everybody, at every stage, which is fantastic. So my questions are finished now. Just to sort of end with the podcast. How can YABA members get in touch? What's the best way of getting in touch with themselves?
Well, firstly, Invest and Fund are actively looking to get involved in the events that YABA are putting on and hosting. So there will be a presence at these events that are coming up in the next 6 to 12 months. The other way we can do is kind of, with your agreement formally, do kind of a market mail shot or something like that, or provide our kind of details and website for yourselves to share across the YABA network, if you will, or something like that.
There's a newsletter as well, Raj, that we can put content in the newsletter.
Yeah, I think that would be definitely an effective way of doing it. Yes, certainly.
I think as well, just to add to that, I mean, we're also acutely aware that we're a finance business, and one thing that you realise when you're working in the crossover of a finance business and home building is that there can be a bit of a resistance when it comes to a lot of financial jargon, a lot of the economic that we talk about, because with the fact that we're balanced with an investor side of the business, we try and tailor our sort of delivery and our message on the home building side, just to try and get across the point that we want to be supportive and educational and help people with things like construction appraisals, working through the early stages of, if they're simply just getting a quote to go out and try and look at sites and figure out how much they can borrow. But we don't want to scare people away with a lot of heavy financial jargon and, kind of really make it about the numbers when in reality it's about small businesses. The ironic thing is that we could be having this conversation about almost any sector in the country at the moment. The part of is the price of press. Money is expensive at the moment, which basically means that all small businesses are struggling. And we're acutely aware of that. We want to try and help and add as much residual value as we can to a service that we deliver.
Fantastic. And I think it's about demystifying a lot of things and debunking theories and ideologies as well. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Sorry to inject. Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing in return, just for YABA. YABA's obviously a great organisation with a massive presence in the north, and it was something that an organisation we really wanted to collaborate with in terms of getting that reputational kind of acknowledgement and that exposure through your network, which is well respected. We've always kind of had a bit of a heat spot around London at the south, whereas I definitely think this will be something to get us a bit more widely recognised in terms of geography, and I'm quite excited to kind of get involved with the organisation and the events that it hosts as well. Yeah, but this is really
that's music to my ears. but no, like I said before, it's great to have you on board, and I think you've educated us all quite a bit, and I think in terms of the support, in terms of the collaboration, I think it's something that we're really looking forward to. So thank you again.
Right. Thank you very much.